Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder on Weather here. We have several more atmospheric river events on the way, as well as some big snows in the week ahead. So let's really break down the details for you so you can plan ahead and know what to expect, and start off with the overall jet stream this morning for your Monday, March the 6th. And you can see this another dip in the jet stream, bringing down more cold air across the Pacific Northwest as well as the West Coast. But we've got a conveyor belt of moisture with a steady stream, and to the north of there, it's all going to be in the form of snow, and very heavy snow setting up shop portions of Idaho into Montana, through the Dakotas, as well as into Minnesota and Wisconsin. Further to the south, it's all about a cold front, and it's going to be slowly shifting southbound in the week ahead. And along that cold front, that's where we have to be concerned about some very heavy rain, if not flash flooding rains, could set up, especially by the middle of the week. So let's take a look at the temperatures this morning and going into the afternoon time frame, because it's all about winter to the north and basically spring to the south. It's going to be plenty warm. In fact, some record high temperatures could be broken today, expected about 10 of those across the U.S., with well into the 80s across portions of Texas, good chunk of the southeast here, even approaching 90 in parts of Florida here. You can see those warmer than average temperatures extend all the way up into Illinois, as well as Indiana and Ohio. But yes, to the north, all those red areas, those are high temperatures, folks. That's in what you won't get out of the 20s today in Montana, into Wyoming, and even in the teens in a good chunk of the Dakotas, underneath some heavier snows for that region. So let's take a look at some of the snows, and this is just your snows over the next 24 to 48 hours. So yes, we've got another steady stream of moisture going to be impacting the mountain regions of California that's been crushed as of late with feet of snow. There's your snows for the Intermountain West and the Dakotas, where they are going to be experiencing those temperatures, those high temperatures, only making it into the teens this afternoon. So we've got another good 3 to 5 inches of snow on the way for a good part of the Dakotas, and blanketed across the upper peninsula regions of the Great Lakes. But there's also going to be a little snow swath coming here, portions of Pennsylvania, heading through portions of Jersey here, and portions of upstate New York. In fact, let's take a look at some of these snowfall totals with that system coming in tonight and headed into tomorrow. Late down here into Erie, Pennsylvania, could pick up 4 to 5 inches from this particular snow event. Back into Jamestown, into St. Mary's, all the way into portions of Williamsport, about 6 inches of snowfall on the latest high resolution guidance. That'll swing down to portions of Allentown. Even Philadelphia could get into the action with the dusting, possibly up to 1 inch. And as that fishtails down to the south, further southeast, yes, we could be looking at possibly about 1 inch down in there in the Tom River area. Even New York City could get in the action with possibly 1 to 2 inches from this sharp gradient of snow. That's just over the next 24 to 48 hours. And we've got more on the way, because yet there's another system starting in on your Wednesday time frame. Another vorticity really drops down into the Pacific Northwest, and again, another just a conveyor belt of moisture sets up across portions of the north central U.S. and the upper Midwest areas into the Great Lakes. But further to the south, there's that steady stream with the southwest flow, and it's along this boundary in northern portions of North Texas into Oklahoma, really through the Arklatex, portions of Missouri, into western Tennessee, into Little Rock, Arkansas areas. Those are the areas of concern of very heavy rain possibly starting to set up on your day on Wednesday. So it's all about this boundary, and this boundary, I mean, slowly shifts south the deeper as we get into the week, and it more or less stalls along these regions. And where it stalls, that's where you have to be concerned about a conveyor belt of precipitation and very heavy rain, if not some flooding rains, really starting to set up shop along these regions. But yeah, to the north, it's all about the heavier rains along the West Coast here, especially in the Northern California. They're going to be really adding to those totals again. But then the snow is going to be flying into the Intermountain West, where it's definitely going to be cold enough to snow. So So we'll have a good swath of snow really starting to break out in portions of Idaho into Montana, back into Wyoming, and more snow back into the Dakotas, as well as they'll be adding to those totals again in portions of Minnesota on your day on Wednesday time frame. But further to the south, from that Wednesday morning to Thursday morning, yes, we've got to be concerned about this boundary here and some very heavy rainfall setting up shop, I would say, north of the I-20 corridor, especially along the Red River areas into southeastern Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, those areas into Arkansas, northern portions of Louisiana, back in northern portions of Mississippi, western Tennessee. Those areas have to be concerned about some very heavy rainfall really setting up, while we have more rain coming into the picture in portions of Oregon, especially into northern California. They'll be adding to these totals in the week ahead. But yes, it's all about the cold front further south. I'm talking about it's going to be a sharp temperature gradients as you have Canadian air locked up to the north and you got spring air to the south. And it's just this boundary where that cold front decides to move, and it more or less stalls right along these areas. That's the area of concern just to the north of there, where you're going to get that heavier rain really start to set up along this boundary region. And these are high temperatures on a Wednesday, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, it's full-blown winter, guys. It's still winter up here. We still got two weeks left of an official winter before spring starts, and it's going to feel a lot like winter, especially in our northern states in the week ahead. And it's going to be some big time snows, and they're really going to be adding up. So because a series of atmospheric river events, and I think the biggest one really starts to come to fruition on Thursday, heading into your Friday time frame. Again, we've just got a conveyor belt of moisture just streaming in off the west coast, more heavy rain, and then a little bit of a buckle down here in portions of into Wyoming, back into Nebraska here. But to the north of there, that's where it's going to be setting up shop, where I think we're going to be getting our heaviest snows of the week, starting on Thursday, but especially into your Friday time frame. And again, further south, we'll be watching that cold front trying to push just a tad bit further south and bringing the rain along with it. Because here's the setup by Thursday afternoon. We've got that conveyor belt of moisture. Here's your 540 line. That's essentially basically your freezing line, dipping all the way down into portions of Nebraska. To the north of there, we'll have those heavier snows really breaking out into Montana, a good part of the Dakotas, swinging back into Minnesota again, back into Iowa, and further to the south. Yes, we've got those heavier rains are going to be setting up shop portions of that, stalled frontal boundary. Because here's the setup as we go into your Thursday time frame. We've got a marginal risk for heavier rains shifting back into, say, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into the Oklahoma City area, back into St. Louis, into Louisville, back into Atlanta, Birmingham areas. But just in the middle of there, that's where that stalled frontal boundary will be, and the heaviest rains will be more concerned about flooding in these regions back in through Arkansas, into Tennessee, all the way shifting into Nashville. This is the area of concern for very heavy rain, especially going into your Wednesday, Thursday type time frame. But again, on Friday, as the jet stream moves and it buckles just a little bit, where that buckle is through the Dakotas, but especially into portions of Minnesota, through Iowa, into Wisconsin, to the north of there, that's where we're going to be getting a sharp gradient of very heavy snows, probably taking shape. 1 to 2 inches per hour snowfall range could be inundating these areas as that swings along and dumps very heavy snow in those regions. So here's your overall 24-hour snowfall totals for that region, basically between Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon. A good swath of snow is going to be coming out of portions of Montana and Wyoming, and now shifting across portions of the Dakotas. It should be setting up over Minneapolis again, through Iowa, but especially over portions of Wisconsin. A good 6 to 8 inches, if not almost 10 inches of snow just for that 24-hour time frame. So these will be adding to those totals on top of what you'll see kind of really all throughout the week. And then as this extends, kind of expand the view, there's that atmospheric river event coming back for the Pacific Northwest. So areas along the coastal regions could be crushed again with very heavy rain shifting all the way down into Northern California, especially into Central California. But there's the snow to the north, and right along that boundary again, it's going to be like a broken record all week long. This boundary, this is the heaviest amounts of rain going to be all week long, and the main focal point along that little cold front, and that where that cold front decides to stop and stall, that's the boundary we're talking about. Very heavy rain really kind of all week long, as we have a series of events just draped across this boundary. So as through the West Coast, again, on Friday, that's the main concern with the main atmospheric river event coming back in for the West Coast. They'll be adding to these totals. They've made a huge dent in the drought really since December, and now it seems like it won't stop. Between the rainfall and the heavy snows, now we're getting pounded again with more atmospheric river events, and I don't think it even stops there. We got more coming the following week as well, but definitely on Friday, we're going to have to be concerned about some isolated pockets of flash flooding setting up along the West Coast. It's mainly a northern and central event. I don't think this one actually gets down into portions of Southern California. But yes, all the way to the north, as we go into your Saturday and to your Sunday time frame, there's the snow will be shifting across portions of the mid-Atlantic and back into the Northeast again. This is adding to those totals for what you're going to be seeing over the next 24 to 48 hours. So and more snow going to be inundated along that portion of the jet stream that's going to be draped across portions of the mid-Atlantic and portions of, northern New Jersey here. Back into Massachusetts, back into Connecticut with another 4 to 6 inches of snow could be adding to those totals from your Sunday morning to your Saturday morning to your Sunday morning time frame within those 24 hours. And yes, by Sunday, we got like another little clipper system be adding more snow for Minnesota and more snow for Iowa. Those areas just been crushed really kind of all winter long, and I'll show you some totals at the end. It's pretty impressive, and Minneapolis could be getting close to adding to those. They're already at 70 inches, and we could be getting the all-time record is 101 inches. We're not going to be that far away, especially after we had under the foot this week alone. But yeah, there's the West Coast by Sunday. Another system comes in off the West Coast, adding to those heavier rains, especially along the Pacific Northwest back into Northern California again. And there's that boundary to the south, and where that cold front's going to lie, that's where the instability is, and the more unsettled weather back into the southeast by then with those heavier rains. But there's your rain swath between now and Sunday. So yes, the atmospheric river event's a compounding event. We could be looking at multiple inches of rain again, especially along the West Coast into Washington and Oregon and Northern California. Heavier snows come back for the Sierra Nevadas. Not much, lesser amounts as you get into Southern California, probably a ½ inch, possibly an inch over the course of the week. Not much for the desert Southwest, but all these areas will probably be in the form of snow, and there's the heavier rains really setting up where this cold front really stalls all throughout the week. These areas of concern in the red could easily pick up 2 to 4 inches of rain along these regions, compounding over the next week. So here's some of your snowfall totals. So let's really break this thing down for you for the West Coast for the European guidance. Again, another adding up those in feet into the Sierras. I mean, they could be looking at record snows by the time this winter is over as well, even for the mountain region, something they have not seen since 2010, 2011 winter for them. But yes, more heavy snows for the Intermountain West, but there's that snowstorm coming out of Montana through portions of the Dakotas, through into Minnesota, another good, easily 8 to 12 inches of snow from those particular systems kind of all week long, especially into the western slopes of Colorado. As we shift to the east, we look at those snows really starting to add up again into portions of Minneapolis, into the St. Paul area, back into Duluth, get into Wisconsin. again, European guidance, at least, 10, 12, upwards to possibly 18 inches of snow in this region. Lighter amounts as you get into portions of Illinois, and not much to speak of across portions of the Ohio Valley. But then that snow swath picks up, compounding between what you're going to get today, compounding what you're going to get for Saturday and Sunday timeframe, adding to these totals across portions of the Northeast. But even the blend, that was the European guidance. So the blend is actually even more bullish if you're counting compounding the Canadian and the GFS. The blend is actually living even higher amounts, and that's typically more your conservative type model. But yes, feet of snow for the mountain regions. But yes, the Dakotas into Minnesota just gets crushed. This is a major snowstorm, guys. We could be even looking at some blizzard-like conditions, especially head into your Thursday, Friday timeframe across the Dakotas, getting into Minnesota again. They could easily add another foot. Some of these areas into portions of maybe Apple Valley and the Duluth could pick up another 12 to 18 inches of snow by the time all this is said and done between now in your Sunday, Monday timeframe going into the next week. Wisconsin should get crushed again. Portions of Michigan here to the south, and portions of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Really not much. It's just basically draped across our northern regions. But then some of these areas along the into the Northeast, even on the blend, could be some surprises here with some 6 to 10 inch totals possibly in these regions, especially into your portions of central PA, those regions. But we'll look at some of the snowfall total season to date. Of course, portions of the upper Midwest. This is a favorite area that's been getting hit hard all winter long. And like I mentioned, Minneapolis is sitting right around 74 inches for the season, and they're going to be adding another foot, and their all-time record is about 101 inches in and around the St. Paul area back in the 1983 winter. And if you add another foot on top of those totals of what you've already seen, compounding with at least another 4 to 6 weeks left of winter in some of these regions where you could easily get snows well into April, even sometimes May, I think you're going to be getting fairly close to breaking some all-time records by the time this winter is over with. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.